We all want what's best for our kids. We want them to have a better life than we had. And part of that is we want our children to be financially secure. So what if I told you there is a way to nearly guarantee that your kids retire as millionaires? Now, when it comes to finances for our kids, we might help them out by assisting them in buying their first car. Maybe we completely buy it for them or do some sort of a 50-50 split on the purchase price. Or some of us will contribute to something like a 529 college savings plan when they're young to help them pay for college tuition one day. But there's a different type of account that you can often contribute to that virtually nobody knows about that will pretty much guarantee that your children to be financially secure during their retirement. I'm talking about opening a Roth IRA on behalf of your children. Now, you might be asking a couple of questions like, can I even do that? Can I open an account in their name? Can I actually contribute to their retirement account? And the answer to both of these questions is a resounding yes. Not every brokerage account will let you open a Roth IRA on behalf of a minor, but many brokerages do. Places like Fidelity or Charles Schwab are usually pretty popular choices. And the best part is that you don't even need to be their parent in order to open a Roth IRA in their name. Maybe you have nieces or nephews that you want to help out. How about grandchildren? You can make contributions to their retirement accounts in any of these situations. The only catch is they have to have earned income for that year. So they do need to have a job of some sorts that pays them money. This could be something as simple as babysitting for the neighbors on the weekend, mowing yards in the neighborhood, a paper route, or as they get slightly older, maybe they start working part-time at a grocery store or McDonald's or something like that. So hypothetically, let's say that your 14-year-old child does some babysitting for the neighbors and earns maybe $500 for the year. That $500 is her money. She can spend it and do whatever she wants with her $500. But then you could turn around and contribute $500 of your own money into a Roth IRA on her behalf. You can contribute up to 100% of her earned income for the year, or up to the annual IRA income limits, whichever one comes first. Now, these limits do change on a year-to-year basis, but in 2022, this contribution limit is going to be $6,000 per year. So if your kid earned $1,000 for the year, the most that you could contribute would be $1,000. If your kid earned $7,000, you could only contribute $6,000 because that's the annual cap for an IRA. Now you might say, well, they aren't really making that much money. They only made $500 babysitting this year, so it's really not worth setting this up. But that's simply not true. The great thing about a retirement account for your kids is that your kids are super young, which means that this money has a very, very long time to grow and compound. So even making small contributions can be very lucrative in retirement. So let's take a look at a few examples and see how this plays out. Let's say they start at age 14, and for the next 4 years until they turn 18 and become adults, they earn $500 per year babysitting in their spare time. And you in turn contribute $500 of your own money to their Roth IRA on their behalf. So at an average growth rate of 10% annually, which is roughly the historical long-term growth rate for the stock market, this money will have grown to $2,552 by the time they turn 18. Now it's assumed that since they're an adult, we stop contributing to their account, and they personally never add any of their own money into this account. It is only the babysitting money. That means there's an additional 47 years before they turn age 65, which is sort of the traditional retirement age. That measly $500 per year for 4 years will have grown into nearly $250,000 of tax-free dollars in retirement account. Now let's look at a slightly different scenario. Let's say your 15-year-old is working part-time at a grocery store and earns $6,000 per year. In this case, we could also contribute $6,000 per year for 3 years until they turn 18. And then assuming no more money is ever contributed, either by us or by them, when they retired age 65, they would have nearly $2 million tax-free. And this works so well because, like I said, your kids are young, which means that this money has an incredibly long time to grow and compound, so even relatively small contributions can have massive results. Now, I realize it may seem weird thinking about funding a retirement account for your kids because your kids are so young. Maybe they haven't even hit puberty yet, so thinking about their retirement seems kind of crazy. And yes, they won't retire for a super long time, but as I said, that's what makes this method so amazing. It has time to grow and compound. Now, a couple of frequently asked questions is, what qualifies as income for your kids? Well, it can be most anything that they do that earns them money, but you have to be careful if you are the one giving them money for doing work. So, for example, if you tell your kid to go wash your car or mow your lawn and you give them $20 in compensation, the problem is that the IRS often views these types of activities not as a legitimate job, but simply as household chores. But if they wash the neighbor's car and mow the neighbor's yard and get $20, that is considered income, and you could definitely contribute those $20 towards their retirement. The one exception for you paying your kids directly is if you are self-employed and you own your own business of some sort. Then you could hire your kids as an employee and have them help you with your business and then contribute an equal amount towards their retirement account. Now, the next question people often ask is, does this mean my kid has to file taxes to report this earned income? And the answer is no. Just because you contributed to their IRA doesn't necessarily mean that they themselves need to file taxes to prove that they had some sort of earned income for the year. Generally speaking, your kid probably isn't going to have to file taxes unless they earn more money than the standard deduction, and thus they would have to actually pay income taxes for the year. As long as they earn less money than the standard deduction, the IRS isn't going to ask them to file any taxes, and they won't ask you to prove that they had earned income, even though you contributed to their account. Now, since the IRS isn't going to ask for proof, obviously some people will take advantage of this and contribute to their child's IRA, even though their child didn't have any earned income for the year. Or if the child did have a little bit of income, the parent will just contribute more than they should have to their account, which is definitely a no-no. Do they often get away with this kind of stuff? Yeah, probably. But just because you got away with it doesn't mean it isn't tax fraud. So don't do anything shady. The IRS is going to get real curious when you try to say that your 3-year-old daughter earned $6,000 last year and therefore you contributed $6,000 on her behalf to an IRA. Now, who knows? Maybe your 3-year-old actually did earn that $6,000. Maybe they're a child model of some sort. But that's definitely not normal. And so if the IRS does come knocking on your door asking you to prove it, you should definitely have documents ready in order to prove that your 3-year-old has income. But generally speaking, this is a pretty good option for people in those teen years when they start earning income for themselves. This can often set them up for great long-term success, even if they never contribute any of their own money. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.